from a Kundalini perspective, and also from a Taoist perspective, when we incarnate and we're born, we take our first breath. So we see us as having an ethereal soul, which we call the Hun in Chinese medicine, and it resides in the liver, and it's the part of us that is eternal and goes from lifetime to lifetime. But there's also another soul that comes in on the earth plane, and that's when we take our first breath into life, and this is the corporal soul, and it's housed in the lungs, which Gemini and Mercury rule. The lungs, the arms, the chest, the voice. Okay, so we can start to see all this beautiful overlap, all these beautiful synchronicities that have come together today as we sit on our mat and feel that center point of the magic of it all. And that soul body that comes in on the first breath is also the soul that dies here. It remains in the earth plane when we take our last breath. That's the corporal soul. And so we say in Kundalini Yoga that the breath anchors you here in the earth realm. The breath anchors you to your physical body. So the more connected you are to your breath, the more grounded you will be in your physical body. And we say in the yogic scriptures that life is not measured by years, but by your pranic breath. So this is why the yogis focus so much on slowing the breath down. And it's interesting because our Western culture creates an atmosphere of speeding the breath up, going faster and faster, so the breath becomes more and more shallow. This is why the yogis, they want to strip things back to a simplicity or a simplistic way of life, so that we can slow the breath down, and so we can practice that mindfulness off the mat of being connected to our breath, connected to that corporal soul. And we can extend how long we're here for, so that we can fulfill the purpose of being here. And in Kundalini Yoga, we have quite a few powerful breaths. We have breath of fire, we have 1 minute pranayama, we have segmented breathing, we have Satali pranayama. So there are lots of different breath works that we do practice in Kundalini Yoga. And again, this is because the breath is what anchors you to the physical body. And when you take that last breath, the physical body then separates, or I should say the soul body separates from the physical, attaches to the subtle body, which we will work on Monday, and then departs, goes back home. So this is why the breath is so important in Kundalini Yoga, and deep breath to fully come into your physical space, slow breath. Now you might think, oh, but breath of fire is 2 repetitions per second. But breath of fire is actually considered to be 1 breath for the duration that you do it for. So this is why building up to a 31-minute practice of breath of fire is very, very much an attribute in Kundalini Yoga. So breath of fire for 31 minutes is considered 1 breath. Because we could never do 31 minutes just on long deep breathing. It's hard enough to do 1 minute on long deep breathing, right? So we have this breath of fire, which is this little tucking of the diaphragm. So we're going to work on breath of fire for a little bit, and then we're going to come into a very deep meditative process with breath and the bandhas, the internal bandhas, which I'll guide you through when we come to it. So first of all, if you think that you know breath of fire, I want you to forget that you know breath of fire, because sometimes when you're given the instructions again, you might not really listen because you think you know how to do it. And that's also an attribute of the yogis, is to continually empty yourself. Whatever you think you know, empty it out again, so that things can keep flowing through you, things don't get stagnated. So if you know breath of fire, forget that you know breath of fire, and approach the practice today like a novice would. Ears are open, auric body is open, everything is open to listen and to receive the teaching. So we want to make sure when we do pranayama that we're sitting up nice and tall. This is why we sit on the pillows, because if you're not on the pillow, your lower back rounds and then your upper chest collapses, which reduces how much prana and breath you can bring into the physical body. So we want the tailbone slightly tucked with the pillow, which then gives us the lift through the chest. Also, when you're sitting for pranayama, you want to make sure that your hips are higher than your knees, otherwise it will become uncomfortable. So that's how you assess if you've got the right pillow height for you as well. Okay, it's to making sure that your hips are higher than your knees. Okay, and we will take the Gyan Mudra, thumb and index finger come together for expansion and for wisdom. And then the palms are up on the knees. So here you have your lung meridian or your lung nadi originating from the chest and coming out down the arm, down through the cubital fossa, down through the wrist crease, down along the thenar eminence and out to your thumb. That's your lung nadi, lung meridian. So when we have the arms up like this, we're opening up the yin side, we're opening up the lung channel. Instead of doing that, see, then the lung channel is kind of closed down. So I just want you to feel that first of all in your seat, so that when you do come to meditate and you do come to do pranayama, there's this natural feeling to turn the palms up, back of the hands on the knees, and see how it gives you that lift. So you kind of use the hands on the back of the knees to further open up the chest and open up the lung meridian. Just feel into that for yourself. Turn it over, watch what happens to your posture. Observe the feeling in the channel, observe the feeling in the chest. So it's not just a dogma, you're not just believing me, but you actually experience it for yourself. That's really important. So this is your own experience. And then turn the palms up. Put the back of the hands onto the knees. And there's just like this deeper breath that comes in straight away. Good. And then you want to slightly tuck the chin so the back of the neck is open and long. And this has the crown then extending up towards the heavens, extending up to the cosmic chi. So your tailbone is tucked, you connect to the earthly chi, the earthly realm. The chin is tucked and you're connected to the cosmic realm. And in between we have the chest and the heart and the lungs. And we have this mixing of earth and heaven in the heart of man. And start to become aware of your lower belly. When we say the navel point in Kundalini Yoga, we're referring to a handspan below the umbilicus. And if you're not sure where that is, then put your index finger on your belly button, and then just underneath your pinky, if your fingers are all together, this is your navel point here. So the index finger is there just at the base of the belly button, and under your pinky is the navel point. That's a very special energetic center right there. So it's about on the Nika line. So that's what we're talking about when we say the navel point, not the umbilicus. So when we start to do breath of fire, the drive is from the navel point, from here. Not up here or here. It's down here. So just want you to feel that for a moment with the breath of fire as you know it at the moment, and see if you can lock in down at this navel center, the energetic navel center. And when the belly button, or when the navel center pulls towards your spine, you're breathing out, not in. You're breathing out. So the lower belly, not in, out. And it's just your belly, your lower belly that moves. So just practice that for a few moments. Don't try to get the rhythm or anything. Just focus just on your out breath. Try to make that part where the nickel line is pull back towards your spine as you breathe out. And if you're a little bit lost there, lie down on your back. If you can't make that connection, lie down on your back, because it will be easier to find the connection, especially if you're new. I remember when I started Kundalini Yoga, the first 6 weeks in my home practice was just spent laying on my back trying to do this crazy breath that I felt like I was going to suffocate with. So if you're feeling that, it's a very natural feeling. And if you've ever been a smoker, often when you do breath of fire, you do reverse breath of fire, which means you're inhaling and pulling your belly button back. So you need to really check in with yourself. And I really wanted to emphasize this today with the pranic body, because we do breath of fire in some very complicated postures. And when you're in those postures, your breath is paramount. And if you're not doing your breath of fire correctly, then you're at risk in the posture, or you won't get the full benefits of what the breath is doing. And the breath of fire, that arouses your Kundalini energy. It's a Kundalini stimulant, so we have to get it down here, because if it's up here, or we're doing it in a reverse breath, then we're not going to activate the Kundalini, and so you're kind of like wasting your time. You've got to make sure that you master breath of fire with Kundalini Yoga. And so that's why I'm going in so much detail today about it. And then once you've got your exhalation down, you're moving this point here at the nickel line, the energetic navel center, on the out breath. Then just relax and see what happens. So push all the breath out and pull the navel point back. And then relax. And the breath just comes in, doesn't it? The in-breath just comes in all by itself. So you're pushing the breath out, lower belly pulls to spine, and then you just relax. And that's how the in-breath happens. So you don't have to work for the in-breath at all, but you do have to have a lot of consciousness for the out-breath. And so sometimes what can happen is we might overemphasize the exhalation. Yeah? And then you're not quite letting your lower belly fill. You're not relaxing. You're not relaxing your diaphragm, not relaxing the belly. So again, this will create a feeling of starting to suffocate or hyperventilation. And we're not looking for that, because we want to do breath of fire for 31 minutes without a pause. So the in-breath and the out-breath are equal in duration. But the out-breath requires a little bit more consciousness than the in-breath. The in-breath just requires you to relax. And the breath of fire is only 1 to 2 repetitions per minute, not faster. So sometimes I see people doing this. Per second, sorry, thank you. So sometimes people are doing this. 31 minutes of that, you'll faint. So you need to 1 to 2 breaths per second. And that's all you need to do. Even that was probably a little bit too fast. So you really want to focus on this in-breath, there's a relaxation. On the out-breath, the navel pulls to spine. Then refine it that the in-breath and the out-breath are equal in length, in the amount of breath coming in and out. So that's how you don't get dizzy or hyperventilate, and how you progress with your breath of fire, and how you make it safe in some of the more active postures when we're not just sitting and doing breath of fire. And so you don't lose that connection to your breath. So we're going to practice that now. So let's open up our lung channel with Jupiter expansion. Palms up on the knees, lung meridian is open, the lift in the chest. Tuck your tailbone, connect with the earth. Tuck the chin, connect with the heavens. And bring the breath right down to the lower belly on the out breath.